Nah, that's it. There we go. I think it has worked. I might even send out a tweet.
Nice.
Send it out as a little tweet that I managed to get this working. I think before it didn't like. I got a little notification on my phone to say I've gone live.
Cool.
So
yeah. So I've got one on my phone as well.
Just says Just Reviews has gone live.
So if anyone's joining, they're just watching us.
Just natter about nothing.
Just just staring at our phones, saying, "Did it really work?" Oh no. Oh yeah, it's a little bit of a delay on it. It's like about a minute delay.
Yeah, usually
I can
these
see it
things
on my
are
phone.
delayed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Let's.
You know what? Where's my camera? I was gonna actually watch this. Should probably get my things in the background there. There you go. It's a bit of a better. Is that better?
Okay. I think All right, let's do this. Oh, actually, I'll get my Audacity up so we can have record this as well on either side. I also get live comments. See if we ever get a comment, which would be fun if we do. Right.
I'm sure if we actually put it out to the comic slot, you get someone joining. I don't know if we want them, but to join and put us off.
Are you recording on your side as well? So we have two recordings.
I can do. Yep.
Yeah,
just bear with me. Just let me get GarageBand up. Someone's just posted up the different Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, Leo Rydell's account was suspended.
Oh dear. What Leo's been? What Leo's been doing?
Yeah, maybe.
Geekly Goods.
Posting trailers probably against copyright, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here he is. Geekly Goods has just he's just commented on it. Let's give him a
nice.
Okay,
he's doing well.
Yeah, right.
I spoke to Leo for a while.
No, I've had a few discussions with him recently. I tried to get him on the podcast, just a bit too hard, with all the time frames and everything.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you recording? Yeah. So
I am now.
Excellent.
Right. GarageBand is going.
All right. Okay. Welcome to another episode of What's Topic. I'm your host, as always, Matt, and with me is my co-host Dave from Comics in Motion.
Hey there, Matt. Great to speak to you again.
So today's episode is a little bit different because we're actually live streaming it on my channel, Jasper Review, so you can watch us live talk about rubbish, really, in all honesty. So it's a new experiment, and we'll see if it pays off in the long run. But today we're basically just going to be talking about the Suicide Squad that came out. Well, it came out in the UK 2 weekends ago, didn't it? But I think for America and worldwide, it's come out over there. So yeah, it's now seems like the perfect time to discuss this film. So yeah, I mean, well, let's start off with. So currently, it's got let's have a look. It's got a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's not actually the best reviewed DCEU film. It is, I think, the second best after Wonder Woman now. But I mean, where's it rank for you in the DCEU of all the films released thus far?
I think for me, this is probably my favourite, and let's call it the DCEU, because
Yeah.
it's essentially what it is. Just because it wasn't popular before when they were making movies that weren't as good, it pretty much is the DCEU. For me, this is the first real movie where it's properly embraced just being a comic book movie, being a little bit silly, but also, embracing the R rating as well. I think it's just added in those kind of traits that we thought James Gunn would, with the interactions between the different characters, and that seemed good, and the effects were good. I just thought on so many levels this hit it out the park. I think Wonder Woman was great, and especially in amongst all of the other things that Warner Brothers were releasing at the time. But for me, I think this one is better.
Yeah, I think for me this is probably the best DCEU film that's been made thus far. Like you say, it does embrace that silliness, the comic book nature of the film. What I liked was it's kind of self-referential, and it knows how silly and ludicrous it is, and kind of really leans into it.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, it's box office wise, it's not doing that well. It has currently made $71.4 million on a budget of 185. It's the biggest total. So the opening weekend was the biggest total for an R-rated film since the pandemic, but the opening is the lowest of any DCEU film. I mean, what do you think that could be down to, why this film hasn't performed as well as some would think?
I mean, I think the first thing, we're in a bit of a strange time, aren't we? It's almost like we have to press the reset button and just reset all of our expectations. But if I compare it to something like Black Widow, I know that's been out for longer, but at the minute that's made about 380 million.
Something like that, yeah.
And you expect it to be the highest at the start, don't you? You expect the first couple of weeks to be very high, and then it to tail off a bit, and it's the big ones like Avengers Endgame and Infinity War that, when people are going back and rewatching, that you see that tail off happening more gradually. The other thing as well, it seems to be accepted that post Deadpool, we're okay with having our comic book movies as an R rating. Because Blade was kind of, a while ago, that was a bit odd. It wasn't a shared universe at all. So obviously that was R. But since then, everyone kind of went towards the PG-13, and that's where you get the biggest box office returns. But I think the R rating was right for the Suicide Squad. But ultimately, if it's not financially successful, I fear a bit for what comes next. Because critically, I just think, like I say, I think this is certainly the best team movie that we've seen from DC. Again, if we kind of discount Wonder Woman as an origin story. So yeah, I just worry a little bit. It seems to me that DC are getting closer and closer to that winning formula. But if it doesn't clock up the dollars, then people are going to go in a different direction.
Definitely. I mean, there's been some reasoning why. Some people have hypothesized why this is done not as well as you would think. Some I've seen is people are confused whether it's a sequel or a reboot. So the problem is the majority of people might think this is a sequel, and because the last film was not very good, have thought that, I don't actually want to watch this film. That could be a reason. I don't think it is, because I think that first film did quite well, and I think that film has its fans, and the marketing for this one was so good, so I don't think that has kind of affected it. I think it's the streaming has probably done this film in, because it is straight away on HBO Max, and from there you can't work out, you can't quantify it. You can't work out who has bought HBO Max for the Suicide Squad, or you may have bought HBO Max to watch Godzilla vs Kong. It's difficult to actually put a number on how much money this film is bringing in via streaming. So I think it kills the film a lot. And then from there, also, the film was very easily pirated. I think Black Widow has become one of the most pirated films ever because obviously they got put on streaming. So I think,
Yeah. But Black Widow again, it's still made $380 million, hasn't it? So if that's the most pirated, even the people watching the pirated copies, you would think there's just not that many people who flock to see Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I think, like you say, also the R rating doesn't help. Obviously, you can't bring the whole family along to watch film. It's not a film like Jungle Cruise where, mum, dad, and the two kids can go along and watch film, whilst, the Suicide Squad is aimed at a very particular audience, young adults and huge comic book fans. And if you don't get them all on board, you haven't got much more to advertise to once you haven't got that demographic involved, which is a shame because obviously, like you say, where does the film go from here? Where does the franchise go? If this isn't doing well, then they may look to make different films.
I think so. I mean, I thought the HBO Max revenue, I thought this all counted towards the box office. I know there's the kerfuffle between Disney and Scarlett Johansson at the minute about that, but I thought when they reported the box office numbers, they included the HBO Max revenue in there. If we assume that it does, then typically your rule of thumb is you've got to double the budget to break even because you've got all the marketing and everything. So you're looking at pushing 400 million before you make it worthwhile having made this movie. Sitting at 71.4 million right now, it looks massively far away from that. And again, just disappointing. It's a really good point about the naming of it, calling it like the Suicide Squad. And if someone went to see the first one and was kind of like, yeah, Margot Robbie's good, Will Smith's good, but apart from that, bit of a mess. They're not like film geeks like us who are like, oh, James Gunn, and James Gunn did Guardians of the Galaxy. So, you're hoping to get some of that chemistry between the characters that he's got there, some of that interplay between them. Most your average cinema goer is just going to be like, yeah, I didn't really like that. Don't fancy this one. So, it, like you say, if you do a Venn diagram of all, who is going to watch this movie, this little tiny intersection of film geeks like us and into the comic book movies and really excited about this one, we're in that minority. Whereas something like Black Widow, people already know who Natasha Romanoff is. Okay, people were a bit confused. Well, where does this fit in the timeline? And it is a bit odd, where it was released in respect to the canon. But instantly, people are like, oh yeah, the MCU movies. It's got that credibility already. It doesn't have to sell us. You've got credibility for the last, 10, 15 years. So I think that's probably another thing that's different to that movie.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's a good kind of segue. Is what is this? Is it a sequel or is it a reboot?
I would say it's a soft reboot.
Yeah.
It doesn't too much embrace what happened before. You've obviously got Harley Quinn there as that kind of continuity. You've got Amanda Waller there as well, so it could be a sequel. But Captain Boomerang as well. No spoilers. Are we spoiling?
Yeah, immediately spoil. Yeah.
So we get Captain Boomerang for a bit, So yeah, for that reason. But you can watch this as a standalone movie. You don't really have to know anything from the previous movie about this one, and I think that's the way I like it.
That's the way I like it as well. It's like you say, it's a soft reboot. It kind of is a sequel, but I guess it's its own self-contained story. It's not carrying on the story set in the previous film. I think something I really liked about this was it's kind of a parody of the first film. I felt like you get the line where Rick Flag is talking to the Thinker, and he's saying, "If you do these things, you die." Well, there was a very similar scene in the first film where he was saying, you step out of line, you die. If you do this, you die. And it's like kind of self-referential. And I thought Idris Elba's character of Bloodsport was very much a parody of Will Smith's Deadshot. They kind of have the same motivation, but whilst Deadshot had a heart of gold and loved his daughter, Idris Elba's Bloodsport was kind of a dick, and he was only looking out for his daughter in the sense that, I guess it is his daughter. Like that scene where she's discussing with him about getting arrested, and he basically says, "You're an idiot for getting arrested. You need to be better at stealing." Did make me laugh, and I thought that they were going to go down the same route of Deadshot, where he's like, he feels awful for her and tell her not to follow this life, when he's kind of more like, I don't really care what you do, and I'm really not interested. I don't even know why you're talking to me. So I do like that about it, and I think, it very much takes the piss of the last film, and also leans into what the Suicide Squad's about, that these aren't good people.
You also get the opening, don't you, with Savant, played by Michael Rooker.
Yes.
Again, I say it's Michael Rooker playing himself with a different character name. But, that mirrored how we got introduced to Harley Quinn in the first Suicide Squad, wasn't it? With the orange jumpsuit and everything. And I thought that was very, very intentionally done.
Yes,
as definitely. A kind of little nod to the first one.
Yeah, I think it was. I think so much of this is a nod to the first one, and kind of, twists it a bit, and kind of, obviously takes the piss out of it, which I think was and also you have, I think a big thing was, in the first Suicide Squad, they were all kind of the same characters. They were just kind of brawlers who were good with guns or good with their fists, and Amanda Waller is talking about Bloodsport, what he does, and he's been trained to be an assassin. And then she does exactly the same speech to talk about Peacemaker, and they're going, you just literally said that. But it's like, well, they are the same character, so why not just embrace it? They are, in a sense, very similar in their skill set. Obviously, their character is a bit different, but their skill set is exactly the same. So I really like that it's parodying itself, going, most of these characters, because most of the characters are the same. They just shoot guns and they punch well, which fine.
You've got King Shark, haven't you? Who's essentially the Killer Croc.
He's Killer Croc
as well.
He wants to eat people, exactly like Killer Croc did. And I really liked that Captain Boomerang threw some boomerangs. At least that he finally.
And that Jai Courtney's character, Captain Boomerang, died as well. I quite enjoyed that.
I quite liked Jai Courtney from the first film. I thought he was one of the only ones who was kind of half decent and was putting a bit, at least he was being a bit different and a bit funny and doing something with his character, whilst everyone was kind of drab getting through the film, kind of like I was when I was watching it.
Yeah, I mean, a controversial opinion possibly. I didn't hate Suicide Squad. I didn't think it was, the best movie, but I did enjoy it. And it was one of those, because Margot Robbie was so brilliant in it, and I do think Will Smith as well. It was kind of like those two plus everyone else. They all kind of faded a bit into the background. So I thought there was some good moments in it. Infamously, the Joker was terrible, I thought. But then when I listened to Steve, and he'll say that, well, it's the closest Joker to the comics. So I don't know. It wasn't for me. I much prefer like the Heath Ledger Joker. He's probably he's top of my tree if I think of Jokers. But I didn't hate the first one. I just don't think it was fantastic. Whereas this film I do think is fantastic.
Yeah.
And not to labour the point, but I do worry about the box office return, because I think, again, the bean counters just won't sign off on another movie, I don't think, if it can unless it hits about 400 million, then it's just not going to be worth doing another one.
It's not. I can't see it reaching that. If it's only made 70 million in its first weekend, there's always going to be the drop off.
Yeah.
And I think this will, sadly, probably end up around the 200 million mark, which is a real shame because it is such a good film. Something I really liked about this film is because obviously the original Suicide Squad, it was set up. They set the reasoning for setting up the Suicide Squad apparently was as a deterrent to kill Superman, but the Suicide Squad never stood a chance against Superman, that original group. I mean, I think the only one is El Diablo could probably slow him down a little bit, but other than that...
I thought it was because, like, the saviour, Superman, had gone. I thought it was because, Superman was dead, essentially. I thought that's why they set up that original Suicide Squad.
I think it was like, but what if another Superman comes along and he's not so nice? And I would argue that original Superman wasn't that nice to begin with anyway.
But they all hated him, you know, for a while, and then he died, and it's like, oh, what a legend he was. And it's like, well, no, you had him in court and everything, and
you took him to trial.
You weren't sure, was he friend or foe, and is it right for someone to have so much power? You set this stuff up, and then he died, and it's like, oh yeah, he was great, wasn't he? Let's not get on about Batman versus Superman.
But what I like in comparison, because obviously the reasoning for the Suicide Squad is to do the missions your clean-cut heroes won't do, and and what I like about this, it's they're doing a government mission against another country that is not an ally to America, but they're not against them, so they kind of let them get on with their thing. But then when there's a new regime that may be against America, well, then they need to do a secret ops mission. Someone like Superman would never get involved in that. But this film, it says, it's going to be about espionage, government cover-ups, and it's its own story. Because I like it, how this film ends is, the beginning of the finale is once Starro has been released. Amanda Waller says, well, let's turn around now. It's not our problem because no one knows we had anything to do with this. So let's just move on. Superman can come along and clean it up now because that's something Superman might do. And that's very much Suicide Squad-esque. And although the film does have a happy ending, and obviously the Suicide Squad win at the end of the day, all that government stuff still got covered up. They were doing shady things. A lot of people died, and although the Suicide Squad got their freedom, it's like, but they kind of did some real shady stuff, which I like. That's the essence of the Suicide Squad. That's what they should be about.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's like the CIA with powers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pissing about with foreign governments and like backing one side against another, and backing the insurgents. That's what the CIA like to do, isn't it? So I was just thinking, was it a happy ending? I guess Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn walks off and Bloodsport walks off, doesn't he, Idris Elba? But there's plenty of bodies strewn behind them, isn't there? Lots of people out the Suicide Squad lost their life, with this mission, so it's kind of a victory, but not really as well. And I agree. I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I'm saying it's great. It's kind of like you hear the kind of music at the end, and it's like, oh right, okay, the goodies in theory have won, but have they really? Did they do
they've
good?
They've won, but on their terms. If they've won on. We haven't saved the world. We haven't told the world also what the American government has done. We've won to benefit us. That's the only reason, that they've done what they've done, because it has benefited the Suicide Squad to do it, because they were able to leverage it. It's very much kind of like Deadpool. He will kill anyone if you pay him enough, and this group will do anything if it benefits them. It's how do the means help them, and that's what I like. Compared to the first Suicide Squad, it was just save the world, and it was like, Superman would probably get involved in all of this if all this was happening, and and this film, it is the Suicide Squad. They're supposed to go on undercover missions that they don't want to tell the heroes about because they're shady, and this is exactly what it is. And I think it really shows how much James Gunn understands the source material to write the film properly and not make it, although it kind of is a big spectacle at the end, it very much is very grounded in that it's not a worldwide spectacle. Like, no one would be looking at that. You know, Superman wouldn't be turning on the TV and noticing that was happening. So I really appreciated that it was the Suicide Squad how they should be.
Yeah, and fundamentally, these are the baddies, aren't they? And again, we can make them a bit sympathetic and understand, okay, this is why they are like they are, but these are the baddies, and they're kind of blackmailed into doing these Black Ops missions. So I agree, this much better represented that kind of idea. The first one, it was just they all became heroic. You know, they had a chance to duck out, and it's like, well, you would expect baddies to duck out, wouldn't you? But no,
exactly. Rick Flag gave them their freedom in that film, didn't he? He said, you can all go, and they decide not to. But I feel like this team, if the same option was put forward to them, they would say, okay, I will go.
Yeah, I'm off.
Yeah, whilst before, they... It felt much more, when they do kind of turn around to save the town, it did feel more earned. And then it did work out for them in their favour, because then Bloodsport, Idris Elba, then went, I have a good idea, because I'm going to go back to prison now. I can use all this as leverage, so I can get out. So they have to benefit them in some way. And it's like I liked. Talking of characters, who was your favourite in this? Of any, even if it was a returning character?
Yeah, so I mean, Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, it's one of those coming together of actress or actor and character where you just think, I can't imagine anyone else doing that role now. You know, she just seems to have a ball.
Funny. We've had a comment on the stream from Christy Mannering, who says, what did you think about Robbie being weirdly sidelined in the film, or did you not take it that way?
That's an interesting point. I mean, I think...
I have seen some people feeling Margot Robbie was sidelined. I didn't quite see it like that. I mean, it's an ensemble film, and she is part of the ensemble. She kind of has her own mission, in a sense. She has her own storyline, and I think there's growth in that character. I mean, don't forget, she did get her own film a year ago. And I one of my favourite scenes was when she was with the dictator and she kills him, and she does her whole speech, and
about the red flags.
Yeah. It made me laugh. It also made me go, oh yeah, that character is growing and learning. She's going, I've made the mistake going for people like you, and I didn't notice the red flags, so this time I won't take any chances. And I just thought, well, you could have just not been with him. You didn't have to immediately kill him.
It did seem a bit harsh, didn't it? Now, I don't see it as she was sidelined. I see it that the first movie had a disproportionately high amount of time spent with her, and also Will Smith's character. I mentioned before that basically it was all about those two, and the others were just background dancers.
Yes.
They didn't offer anything really. So I thought she fit in much better in this movie as just part of an ensemble cast.
I think it takes the ensemble cast very literally. I mean, all the members of the team kind of have something to do, and they've got their own little stories ongoing. So, I did feel like Margot Robbie was sidelined, because in the first film, like you say, her and Will Smith were the leads. They were the lead characters. And in this, they've said, no, every character kind of gets their own little bit. I think probably the film focused mostly... She probably got the most screen time, seeing she had her own little side quest. And then from when she kills the dictator... That's kind of where her story does end. That's kind of where she's done. And that finale, she's just obviously running about, punching squid people, whilst Bloodsport and Ratcatcher kind of have more of a story going on. But I feel like all the characters got a good amount of things to do. They got enough to sink their teeth into. A character that I really enjoyed, which really surprised me, was Rick Flag. He was probably my favourite character. I feel like he's been written correctly for once.
No, he did a good job, didn't he? And he was a bit wet, wasn't he, in the first movie? He was just a bit
It was just
Boy
generic,
Scout.
and
Yeah.
I'm the army guy. I don't want to be here, and I'm just gonna kind of call you all dicks and move on from it. In this, it feels like he has relationships with the characters, and Rick Flag has never been. He's never been like he never not wanted to be a leader. But he always is a leader, and he doesn't dislike the Suicide Squad. They are his team, and he'll die for them. And that was missing in the first film. And this, with Harley Quinn, he has a genuine relationship. Bloodsport and Peacemaker even say Rick Flag is our friend. So you feel like they've had previous missions, and they've all built up a repertoire with one another. So I really liked him. He was good. He was loose. He was he was a bit silly. I really enjoyed Rick Flag, and I was really sad he died.
Yeah, it did feel a little bit gutting, didn't it? And I didn't expect that. I didn't see that coming. Actually, I thought they would possibly take the opportunity to kill off Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn in this one as well, but then I thought, well, it's probably, even if they recast that character, they probably want to keep her going, as that cash cow.
Yeah, I predicted before. I thought she might die. I thought Margot Robbie might be finished with this, but I think then again she might be becoming kind of the Iron Man of the DCEU. Kind of be like, well, that's our go-to character now. Sorry, I completely butt in on you.
No, it's all right. I see him more as the Deadpool. I mean, Harley Quinn and Deadpool are just those characters, aren't they? They just appear across all of the comics, and they're just really popular across the two publishers. But Joel Kinnaman, I think, is a really great understated actor. I think he was great in Altered Carbon. And yeah, I like I say, of all of the characters that I expected to die, he wasn't one of them. He's kind of like the the hero out of all of them, isn't he?
Yeah.
And so I thought it was quite a brave move to kill him off, to be honest.
No, I did as well. I'd like to see more of him. I did see someone say they would rather see a Rick Flag TV series than the Peacemaker series coming up, which I probably don't agree with, but I would like to have seen him more. I think Joel Kinnaman showed he's good in the role, and the character was much better. He was a true leader, and he had some jokes, and he just wasn't, like you say, so wet and bland. Like in the first film, he had something to do, and he actually had a personality in this. So yeah,
I think the reason there's a Peacemaker series is probably more to do with the fact that it's John Cena, isn't
Definitely,
it? That he's got that draw straight away, and I thought I really liked his portrayal. Actually, I really liked the Peacemaker character while we're still on characters, because I think there was some parallels between him and also the recent Captain America, the John Walker US agent Captain America, in that he is that real patriot. But whereas your Steve Rogers Captain America embraces the ideals of what America was founded on, I think Peacemaker is more just a pure patriot, isn't he?
Yeah.
And so if the US government points him in a direction and says fire there, he's off, isn't he? And I think that's possibly something that they'll play around with.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that character grows in any way, because maybe he look into what he did in Jotunheim, maybe feel a bit of regret that he killed a man to cover up secrets, or will he always be kind of like, no, that's kind of the price you have to pay for peace, and I'm always happy to do it. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens to that character and in the Peacemaker series. That's a series I'm really looking forward to. Well, we can't talk about Suicide Squad if we don't talk about the deaths. Were there any that actually surprised you?
Michael Rooker, Savant, straight away. I think that was a bit of a shock, and actually, as all of that opening scene unfolded, I thought this is sort of Deadpool 2.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, when we had the whole X-Force coming together.
I think I said that a few months ago. Maybe this will be kind of how they trick us all. I mean, from the trailers, I think you could work out a lot who would live and die. But yeah, it's a shame because I feel like none of the deaths really surprised me except for Rick Flag. But I guess you can't have too many surprise deaths because then you'll have no one left. But yeah, Rick Flag surprised me. I tell you, did surprise me. Polka Dot Man. I thought he would come back. I thought he would be kind of that breakout character, and I really enjoyed that character. I thought he was one of the funniest ones in it.
Yeah. No, he's good. And I guess, could I class it? I was surprised that Weasel died, but I say died. Obviously,
Yeah.
you get to the end and you're like, oh, well,
He
he's
won't.
not dead.
Yeah, James Gunn wouldn't kill off his brother, would he?
Yeah, well, I guess so. But, you could always stick him in a different CGI character. But, yeah, so those are probably the only two, like Rick Flag and Weasel for me.
Yeah, other than that, I felt all the new lot were going to be cannon fodder. I thought Captain Boomerang would almost certainly die. Annoyingly, I predicted a lot of the opening of the film. I said before going in, I feel from seeing the trailers that they're going to all go on a mission. It's all going to go wrong. Rick Flag and Harley Quinn are going to be the only ones to get away, and then the film will start from there. And yeah, normally I got most of that right. But then that's my own fault because I watch a lot of trailers and I think about this stuff far too much. So it's my own fault. I tell you what I did like is the transitions between scenes. Like you had Operation Save Harley Quinn, and it felt like a comic book. Like when you read volume 1 of a comic book, each chapter that it's now a new issue. This issue is Mission Jotunheim. It's like, oh, cool, this is now what we're going to be looking at. This is what the next part of the story. So, yeah, I really like that. I think it's a film that really does embrace that comic book nature. What about the comedy? Did you find this film funny or not?
I mean, it wasn't laugh out loud hilarious. I think one of the characters, which is probably my favourite out of the whole movie, got most of the comedy, and that was Stallone's King Shark.
Yeah,
I just thought
that would be the case. Yeah,
he had some great lines, and just everything. The delivery, I thought it was great. It was funny enough. But ultimately, when you're dealing with that R rating, you're dealing with quite a lot of violence as well. I think, it was just, it was set right. If it was any funnier, it didn't have to be Deadpool funny. I think this was just right. And I did enjoy the kind of almost, it reminded me a bit of Predator where they sacked the camp. And you could kind of see it coming. That they're killing off all these people and it's just way too easy, and then you find out that they're actually the good guys who Rick Flag's working with. So little kind of fake outs like that made me laugh. But yeah, I thought it was funny enough.
Yeah, I felt it probably wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be. I felt a lot of the humour did fall flat for me. I don't think it's, a lot of people saying it's really funny. I didn't actually think it was that funny a film, but I'm not into with humour that's just crude for the sake of being crude. And not that there's loads and loads of crude humour, but I find that kind of humour not particularly funny. That's why sometimes with Deadpool I'm kind of like this isn't that funny. The character I found funny, the funniest of all, was probably Polka Dot Man. I think the funniest scene in it for me was when Milton gets killed, and none of them know Milton was with them, but Polka Dot Man is very broken up about it that his friend Milton had died. I think that was one of the funny scenes, and it was kind of a scene I didn't see coming that they would all react in that way. But I guess it kind of all makes sense for those characters. Yeah,
and Holly's a bit confused, isn't she, about who's Milton?
Yeah, she thinks Idris is Milton, and
yeah. No, you're right. I thought that was funny.
Oh, so would you like to see a sequel to this film then? Is this a story you'd like to see carried on? But I mean, I guess it can't really have much of a sequel because, as you say, it's kind of a self-contained story. But would you like to see James Gunn go again with this?
Yeah, I think so. I've liked what James Gunn has done. I know Tony absolutely hates James Gunn. Just doesn't really. I think he's okay with Guardians, the first one, but really doesn't like the second one. I think the way he writes female characters is a bit flawed. But when you're writing someone like Harley Quinn, the character is already fleshed out. You just have to insert her into the script, and it kind of writes itself. So, yeah, I think I said at the top, this is probably my favourite DCEU film to date. So, yeah, I'd like to see more of this. Whether it's with this same group, you can't really repeat what you've done. I said about, well, the start had a little bit of a feel of Deadpool 2. This has already been done where you build up this team, you've introduced all these characters, and then you kill them all off. Yeah, seems like a bit of a copy. When did Deadpool 2 come out? Is it 2018 or something?
About that time, yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, you can't do this trick again, can you? Of
no.
We killed them all.
But then, like you say, the Suicide Squad, like the name of it, the essence of it, it has to be that people are going to have to die. Now, maybe they could do a whole police squad type thing. I don't know if you ever saw the old police squad.
No, I've never seen those films.
These were the precursors to the Naked Gun series, and it was just a bit too ahead of its time. But basically, they'd introduce a special guest star, and at the start they'd always get killed off. Never actually part of the episode. So I think you could have a heavy kind of churn of characters, who are introduced in a movie. Maybe it becomes a thing where, bigger and bigger stars want to be involved in this stuff.
Kind of like Brad Pitt, who was in Deadpool 2 for 3 seconds.
Wasn't it a coffee or something like that?
No, he's Invisible Man, isn't he? And then he died.
But I mean, to do it, I think they didn't give him an actor's fee, but like they offered to buy.
Oh right, yeah, I see, yeah, he was there for so short a time. Yeah, I mean that would be really cool, like a cameo of a character to be there, like an actor you wouldn't expect to be there, just simply there to be killed. It's a cool idea.
So I think that whole idea, again, as you said, it's kind of a brilliant idea to make it all about, this CIA style invasion of a small foreign country. But what are you going to do in the future? You can't do the exact same thing. You need something that's going to be big enough that you get this spectacle that you can write a movie around, but small enough so it doesn't appear on Superman's radar and he basically goes and sorts it all out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing maybe what some of these characters get up to now they've got out of prison. I mean, you've got Ratcatcher, Bloodsport, King Shark, and Harley Quinn. That they're out. Maybe I could see us getting another Harley Quinn film, and maybe some of those characters appear from there. I mean, that would be something that interests me. Maybe. Maybe the Suicide Squad now is going to be kind of like the DCEU's Avengers, that every few years they do one of these things. They come together, they go out, do their own little thing, and then come together again. Like DCEU are not so interested in continuity as MCU, so whatever I guess they feel they should make is kind of where they'll go from it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the narrative about whether there is a continuity or not, or is it all parallel universes or not, I feel like it changes with the next movie that comes out. If it's convenient to consider it continuity, they'll do that. But if not, they'll just make standalone movies, because it's just like you say with this one, it's a bit ambiguous and like I wasn't sure. I mean, do we take much of what happened from Birds of Prey into this one?
I guess, kind of in a sense, you do. I mean, it's with this. It's just what do you know about Harley Quinn that's already been established, and kind of go from there. She's not calling back to previous adventures. It's just this week she got arrested again, so had to join the Suicide Squad. That's what she got up to.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, okay. And I know what that character's kind of about. In essence, she was with the Joker. She split up with him, and she's crazy. So go from there. I quite like what DCEU are doing. That they're just giving these films to people and saying make a story, and continuity wise, just don't completely break it, because like this film doesn't break the continuity of DCEU. They talk about Superman, and it kind of is a sequel to the previous, without continuing any story beats. So yeah, I like that. The MCU have got their continuity, their shared universe. Why not do something different? The DCEU made the mistake in trying to play catch up with MCU, but just make your own thing and see what comes of it, which I think they're doing.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, actually, that it's not like it's telling a saga. It's not trying to tell the Infinity Saga, so you can't join up these movies. That it's telling this huge overarching story, but they're kind of carrying on a story. Like you say, so we know about Harley Quinn, just picking on her. So the whole red flag thing, again, just really tickled me. But it would make sense that, she's fully detached from Joker now, which she wasn't in Birds of Prey. At the end of the first Suicide Squad, she was obviously getting back with Joker, been rescued by him. And so, yeah, it makes sense without there being a direct through line. So, yeah, I agree. I think doing something different to Marvel and giving us great movies, that is absolutely what Warner Brothers should be focusing on.
Yeah. I think the next film now is going to be, I don't know what the next film the DCEU is. I know the next DC film is going to be The Batman, but I don't know what the next DCEU film is going to be. It's probably, would it be one of Black Adam or Shazam? I think it might be Shazam.
When is The Flash supposed to be?
Actually, you could be right there. It could be The Flash. I believe The Flash is next year. Shazam and Black Adam are not far behind either, which maybe The Flash will be... I've always said The Flash will be Days of Future Past, and it will reset the timeline, but just cherry pick what they want and say, right, that still counts. It will say I imagine it will say Wonder Woman still counts, but Batman vs Superman, Man of Steel, and the Justice League don't count, and then you just go from there. Yeah, and maybe the first Suicide Squad doesn't count. Just say that little period, but Wonder Woman did well, so that one can count. Because that's how they did it with X-Men, didn't they? They said X-Men Origins doesn't count, but the X-Men and X-Men 2 do count because they were the good ones. So I think that's basically what they'll do here.
I think the perfect thing they did, they wrote out X-Men Origins Wolverine and X-Men 3, because at the time that was the worst Dark Phoenix movie, but they rectified that sometime later. And I remember at the end of that movie, I was just like, that is some, God tier writing. Hats off, because that was brilliant. What they did with Days of Future Past, and then they followed it up with Apocalypse, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know. They've got so many movies. I don't know if they can so neatly carve out all the things that have a Rotten Tomatoes percentage of less than 60%.
But essentially, like the qualifying has your Rotten Tomatoes score got 60%. No, it didn't count then.
Then you're cold. So I just think though, it'll be a whole Flashpoint type of thing, won't it? And they'll carry on, like you say, with the bits. But I don't think they'll take the time to specifically write out things that they don't like.
Or they'll just say, the Batman vs Superman, that happened in a different universe. That universe is like really fucked up and dark, isn't it? Let's not stay there for much longer. Let's go to the funny one, the Suicide Squad one, the funny, more upbeat one. So that could be also another option they do. That he jumps around, he's like, oh my god, Ben Affleck just killed 500 people. Maybe we shouldn't stay in this universe.
Yeah. Let's go across to this one where we've got CGI Adam West.
Yes. I think that's everything on Suicide Squad. Is there anything you'd like to add about this film? Anything that we didn't cover, or do you feel that's neatly encapsulated it all?
I think we've covered pretty much everything. I mean, I will just emphasize I just loved King Shark.
Yes.
I've had a fear of sharks since a young age, saw Jaws way too early, and I hate going in the sea or anything, just hate sharks. But he's definitely my favorite shark. I don't know if you've seen the Funko Pop of him. I'm definitely going to try and pick that up. He's got his little Bermuda shorts on there. Just fantastic. And Stallone's voice for that is just perfect.
He did fantastically with that character, I think.
Yeah, the whole thing. And he's just saying like one word. He's like hand or bird or something like that. And it's somehow funny, you know.
What I like is because when the trailer got released and it showed who each person was playing, they then released King Shark and it didn't have a name. And me and Luke hypothesized that, do you know what they're going to do? They're going to do Taika Waititi, just like Korg. You know, he's going to be that guy who plays these big hulking characters but plays them off as kind of gentle giants. And I was worried. It's like, well, you've already kind of done that trick. Don't do it again. And the Harley Quinn animated show is also doing that trick at the moment. But I like they didn't really go down that route. You know, he is a bit of a lovable giant, but in a kind of not. You know, he does want to turn on people as soon as he can, but he gets convinced around by Ratcatcher too that maybe he shouldn't do that. But when he's given the opportunity, he will. So he is still a force to be reckoned with, even if he is a bit dim-witted.
Definitely, and you know, she nearly came a cropper as well with him initially, didn't she? So, no, I think the only thing I'd say, if you're listening to this or watching this and you haven't seen it, I would just advise you to go out, watch it. It's just a fun movie. It's earned its R rating. But I just think it was great, and it will be such a disappointment if we don't get more movies like this, and you know, it doesn't make its money back at the box office. Yeah,
that'd be a real shame. Yeah, obviously we want the good superhero films to be continue getting made, and that's why the films like this need to be supported. So executives can say, yeah, we will do that. I think they will take into account COVID and other things that have affected this film, and hopefully say, no, James Gunn is a good director, we need to keep press onwards. So anyways, thank you for watching or listening. You can follow me at just_reviews on Twitter, or subscribe to the YouTube channel, which if you're watching this on now, just do it, please. But yeah, that's Just for Reviews. And where can people find you, Dave?
Yep, you can get me on the Comics in Motion podcast, TV and movie reviews. So every Friday we'll cover something, either something that's been released recently or something. We'll go back. There is a whole catalogue of movies and TV shows from the past that we've covered. You can also get me on the VHS Strikes Back, where we cover movies like, say, Bloodsport, or I've got my little Jean-Claude Van Damme mug there. And we've been doing the Back to the Office podcast as well, which covers the first and second series of the UK Office. Actually, we'll be doing the Christmas specials as well. So
brilliant.
That is a huge amount of fun.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Thank you for listening or even watching. And I will see you in the next podcast or video, whatever I do first. Thank you.
Bye, guys.